Hello and welcome back, everyone. Hopefully, we have working audio with me today. I have special guest,
So special.
JC John, JC Art.
Yo, how we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm always doing well. Thank you for asking.
And in the chat, we have two of my humble members here, Big Reese and JJ. Hello, gentlemen. Hello. And Kevin, hi. Audio's working. I know, right? Like, geez.
We got our
Seriously,
we got
for
our, we got our
once.
stuff together today.
Yeah. So just still so at the last minute though, just that emergency rush. Mm. Okay, sorry. But so John wanted to test his equipment and I was like, yes, let's test your equipment cuz he's got like a more big boy streaming setup now. And I'm I look at okay, hold on. I've got to move this just a little bit more because I can see like the border of the thing up there and it's like jumping all over the place. Sorry, guys, but you're going to have to see my unbelievable technical not prowess.
You really shouldn't apologize because everybody deserves to see every inch of my beautiful face. So it's only fair to the audience.
True. I was so wrong about that. Um, hold on, let me see if this is okay. There we go. Okay, so, but I figured since we're gonna, test things out and we're gonna be on here, there was a couple things actually that we could talk about.
Sure.
Um, and so we can get into some of that stuff. Retro gaming related, maybe a little bit of arcade stuff.
Nice. I'm into it.
So that's what she said.
I don't follow.
Okay. Oh,
This is
Paul,
neat. Hey,
my mods here. Paulie, and he called me Jade, not Shishi. He usually calls me Shishi. I guess it's more professional when you're a mod, you know. But anyways, what's up, Paul? So, so yeah. First off, John, what have you been up to lately? Like, what's going on?
uh, things have been pretty wild lately. I usually this is my slow time of the year as far as my business is concerned, but it has not slowed down whatsoever. Um, I've been doing a lot of um, uh, I've been doing a lot of gaffing actually. I've been being brought onto some sets to do some gaffing, and that's been a lot of fun. And I've just been buying so much equipment lately. I can't stop. It's a real addiction when you get into just buying so much camera gear. It's such a problem. So,
So, in
but
case you guys
yeah, it's been
don't
nice.
know, John is he's like hugely into. It's his job, but photography, film, uh, and he's a huge lighting freak and nerd. So
Yes,
he's really good at it.
and my don't let today's display fool you. I do know what I'm doing, but I thought we were just testing some stuff around. You pulled a little wool over my eyes. You're like, let's go live and let's get into it.
Okay,
So I just have a
when you
little weak rig
say
here going.
I thought we were testing, I want to test it out. I'm automatically thinking, okay, in real time.
I love your enthusiasm. You're very full of zeal. I appreciate that.
Um, what have you been doing gaming wise though?
Gaming wise, that is a great question. So I went and you and I talk all the time, but for anyone not in the know, I finished my arcade this year. I'm kind of done with it. So I got really into old school retro stuff again. I began working. I brought on a new client this year. They're a video game store here in New Hampshire. They sell retro games, and they have an amazing collection. So it just really just I don't know reignited that passion. So I've just been going and collecting just every damn thing, and my obsession went as far as like getting myself like a 36-inch Sony Wega again to play all these things on, just like really old school and just the original hardware. And then I went down the rabbit hole of getting some modernized handhelds, like getting Game Boys with like the funny playing kits. And I just had a guy make me a Game Boy Color that's got an HDMI out, so you can capture footage from it. Because I have this whole thing I want to do with using a Game Boy camera to make like crappy looking films. So like I'm just going down these weird rabbit holes of nerdery that I can't imagine anyone caring about except maybe yourself. So it's been wild.
Well, dude, I mean, when I was younger and I had a Game Boy Color, like we would do that at school. We would make like movies or do like stop motion things with the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's really dorky stuff. But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I've been, I've actually like had some time off because I did like a bunch of videos at once, or a bunch of content at once, I should say, and then just like scheduled it to release. So, and when I say a
Nice.
bunch, I mean like a lot, a lot. Um, so yeah, it's been nice to have a little bit of time off, and then just kind of like playing games and trying different things out. And I did a console build with this mini PC that I have, which I kind of told you about.
Yep.
But I got that Kin, what is it? Is it Kin? See, I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's Kin Hank or Kin Honk. I think it's Kin Honk. But anyways, and they sent me that hard drive, which had a really nice retrobat build on it. And usually when you get like drives like that, the games are repeats, and they're like categorized wrong. Like you have console games and arcade
Mm,
sections and stuff like that, kind of like Pandora's Box. Like I'm not a
yeah.
huge Pandora's Box fan. um but anyways, I took some of that and coupled it with my mini PC and basically made this super sick build. And because I wanted to see how much would it cost to make a like a really playable, really good build that can play like all the consoles pretty much. And well, not like really new consoles, but pretty much everything up to like PS2, for example.
Yeah.
And and yeah, so I mean, basically, you can do it for about 140 bucks. And then you just set the system up so that it boots into the front end and you're like good to go. So I have this like really, really clean console build. I love it. And then the other thing I've been doing is screwing around with like taking more modern remakes of systems and connecting them to a CRT TV.
Yeah. That's awesome. The CRT's so much fun, honestly. Like I kind of forgot like it's weird. Like I talked about this before on one of my episodes. I can't remember what it was, but I've got a giant 77-inch LG OLED, and it's just like the best television can possibly look at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And taking like a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo and hooking it up to that, it looks so bad. It's just it's like almost unplayably bad. It's just blurry, and it's just because you're taking the resolution of like something that's like essentially 300 or 400 pixels and putting it on a screen that's almost 4,000 pixels. So it's like you lose all that resolution, and no
Right.
amount of upscaling is going to fix that. So getting the CRT and then being able to play these things as they were meant to be played, and like I'm just surprised that like I don't want to say surprised because I like the look of like take the Nintendo Switch for example with like their retro gaming consoles that they have. All those are formatted for HD and they look beautiful, like they're nice and crisp and they look really great. But playing them on their original hardware on a CRT and seeing the way that the CRT just sort of complements those imperfections, I guess you could say, it just makes it like I don't know, it's kind of that much better. It's sort of like when I look at my Mortal Kombat 2 arcade cabinet, the arcade one up I have, and then the way that the pixels look a little jaggy and rough,
Uh-huh.
and you go to the arcade and play the actual arcade hardware, and those pixels are just as jaggy and rough. it's the same thing, but you're not looking at it on a crisp LCD screen with, high resolution and no imperfections. The CRT, the scan lines and all that stuff really accentuate and complement those imperfections in a way that sort of give it a look that is really hard to replicate even with scan lines on a LCD. Um, so
Well,
I don't know, it's just been kind of fun going back and noticing these things.
I think there's a lot of like the retro tink will I mean I've seen what the new retro tink 4K does, and it does like some pretty cool stuff. It has like some really awesome built-in shaders and upscaling capabilities. But on the emulation side, you know, I've found ways that are very satisfying to me personally, through shader sets and overlays and stuff like that. But there's other people out there like modders, like Voltar, who he's like this super, just crazy smart techie dude who does like modding and solders everything, and he's like really really good. But he does like these really badass mods where he basically puts a built-in upscaler with like an HDMI out on like an N64 or SNES, and like the pixels just look amazing. And so there are some ways that I think sorry, I'm already losing my voice, that you can play those on like an LCD TV and it looks good. But yeah, definitely cannot just like plug it in with the RCA jacks and expect it to ever
Yeah.
look good, you know? JJ,
Yeah, it's rough.
JJ says, what emulation platform do you like the most? Um, what do you mean, like what platform? Are you talking about like a front end, or are you talking about like an emulator, or are you talking about like all encompassing like a RetroArch type deal? Sorry. I'll get back to it when you let me know. But anyways, yeah, as far as like originality, I mean, obviously you're going to get the most authentic experience on a CRT, but I found this little adapter that I tested out on my Atari, the new Atari 8, or not 800, 2600 plus, and it works perfect. Like it just plugs right into my CRT from the HDMI port, through the RCA jacks, and it's amazing.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, it's fun trying to. I don't know. I don't really think there's any wrong way to play whatever it is you want to play. Um, or like it's just to me like as long as the game isn't really trifled with and the original game is the integrity of the game still there, then that's fine. However you want to play it. Like I really enjoy, like I said, I really enjoy playing on my Switch with their retro console section, and be able to play like Donkey Kong Country on my TV full screen, and it just looks crisp and beautiful. It's awesome.
Yeah, but there's cool things like MSU variants. Like, you know what the MSU1 variants are for Super Nintendo?
I do not believe I do.
Oh my god, we have to look at that. Okay, Batacera, Retrobat, CoinOps, etc. I personally prefer either something that's going to be like Retrobat or what's the other one? Launchbox, because they're super customizable as far as like what emulators you can plug in. And that's what I like the most about it, because Retrobat will use Emulation Station, but you can configure it to use whatever emulator you want. You may be using like 60% RetroArch, but you can tell it like for Jaguar, for example, there's no good core for Jaguar. You have to use Big P, Big P Emu, I think it's called, which plays like all the retail Jag games. So being able to do that is like a huge thing. And Paul says that he agrees that it's not as nostalgic playing NES on Switch. And
who was saying that it wasn't?
Paul.
Were you saying it? No. Were you saying that it wasn't as nostalgic, or?
No, I think he was just referring to our conversation about like playing something, on the Switch versus like older games like that. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Bill's
I don't wanna
retro
misquote myself,
gaming.
though.
Hi, Bill. He says Hey everyone, Happy New Year. Just finished work, so wanted to come hang out with all of you wonderful people. Well, it's good to have you here, Bill. I feel like it's been forever. Forever, forever, forever.
That's how it feels. That's how long it feels since I've done anything on YouTube. My God, has it been a long time?
Yeah, you know
This
what
is so
happened
weird.
is you were like Mr. Popular because you got like 50 million views on your game room tour. You're like, I don't need to do anything
It,
for at least 5 months.
I'm not gonna lie, that did overwhelm me a little bit, how much that blew up. And then I made that really nice looking video. Like I was like, oh cool, I'm gonna come back hard, make a really cool looking video, put some production into it. No one cared. I was like, all right,
That's
well,
that's
I'm gonna
such a
sit.
noob. That's such a noob move. You're like, yeah, 50,000 views now. I'm gonna make something really good, and then it gets like 2 views.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna take a sit back, and then I got busy anyway, and I was like, I'm just putting some thought into some stuff. I have some stuff I want to make. I just need to do it now. But yeah, the YouTube, it's been, I don't know, it's so hard to stay consistent for me. I don't know why.
It's probably because you have like an actual job that's demanding. Okay, you guys got to see this. I and obviously, John, you have to see this. Hopefully, John, you can hear my desktop audio. Um, but if not, I'm sorry because that's like 50% of what makes this freaking awesome. But I found this because I was doing Super Metroid stuff, and I want to talk a little bit more about Super Metroid in a second here. Um, and then we'll talk about like MSU one variants, John, because I have to educate you on that.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
but let's watch this. And oh, you know what? We're probably gonna have an ad because I'm not on my premium account, which is so bogus. Like if you're a content creator that has revenue enabled, like you should be able to have a free premium account. I mean, am I wrong?
No, I actually agree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so this is a remake of the Super Metroid intro in HD with a really cool like music soundtrack in the background. Okay. Here we go. Ready? Kaboom. Do you guys hear audio? Wait, do you guys hear the audio? Because I don't hear the audio, which is weird. I should hear the audio. Always with the audio, for God's sake. Hold on, let me check. Let me see what's going on over here. Yeah, speakers. No, those are not. Oh, headphones, that's why. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I only hear your soothing voice. All right, let's see. Do you hear it now? Okay. Yeah. Yes, we should be good. Maybe. Okay, cool. All right, hopefully it's just not too blaringly loud. Was that like really loud or was it okay? Because I'm going to adjust the volume. I'm going to guess. Sounds good. Okay. All right, here we go. Are you ready, John?
I'm not sure I'll be able to hear it, but yeah, fire it off. I'll like see the visuals at least.
Okay. Is that are you looking at your phone?
Yes.
If I was sitting next to you, I'd slap it out of your hands.
Well, I have to look at the phone to see the
No, you can't. No.
see the.
No. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's badass, right? Like, especially if you played Super Metroid. Like, oh my god. I mean, I thought the MSU sound is good, which it is. It's like amazing. But I just wanted to share that with you guys, especially for anybody who has played Super Metroid. Like, oh my gosh, it's freaking awesome. You know, there was supposed to be a remake of Super Metroid that was done, that was being worked on, and like for years. And I don't even know what happened, like if it kind of fell off or whatever, because you know like how aggressive Nintendo is. They're like, you,
Oh yeah.
you know, like they're super aggressive, right, about like copyright, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, this guy was like literally working on this remake for years, and it was called, oh my gosh, what was the name of it? It was something SMR, and no, it wasn't A, but it was something SMR. Oh my god, I can't remember off the top of my head. But I just remember the SM and R because Super Metroid remake. Um, and it looks so cool. It was like basically upscaled pixels. Like, I mean, he redid the whole game from like the ground up, um, from the ground up, and they had made so much progress on it. So let's see. It looks like video was posted a year ago. Any updates to this? Oh no, this was just like for fun. So the audio actually is from this guy. Sorry, this guy who goes by the Luminist, and he has like some super sick synthed out like remixes that he does of gaming music, and it's really cool. So just here's a quick one. Oh, I'm so sorry you can't hear this.
Yeah, I can't hear anything. I'm just watching you have the time of your life. And I know it's Star Fox.
Yeah, well, the music's freaking awesome though. So yeah, but if you scroll down, he's got like all these Super Metroid remixes, and he started off with like the original Metroid, but he basically does like these synth remixes, like the main title screen for the original Metroid. Like, this is incredible. I wish there was a way for you to hear this, John. I mean, you're gonna have to replay it back and watch.
Wish I liked the original Metroid.
It's just got like this super dark synth element. Oh my god, that gives me goosebumps.
I'm gonna have to check this out now. Now I'm curious.
Okay, what do you think, chat? What do you think of this stuff? So rad. Um, okay, so let's see. So Super Metroid, MSU, MSU1. Um, so on my flash cart, I have like all of the MSU1 variants. And like so let's see, Zelda, oh my gosh, Chrono Trigger, which basically has the PlayStation soundtrack and FMV cutscenes. So it's basically like the Super Nintendo CD. If like we got a Super Nintendo CD release of those games, is basically what it's like.
We pretty much did though with the one on the DS. The DS is a port of the PlayStation One, and it doesn't have any of the crappy load times that the PlayStation One did.
Right, right. But it does it have the cutscenes? Because I don't
Yep,
remember the
yep.
cut.
The DS one has all the cutscenes. Yep,
Really? Oh, that's so
yep.
funny
The
because
DS is like the
I
best
have that
version of that game.
and I yeah it's really good. Like because I mean I played through it. I took it with me on a deployment and like played through it.
That game's amazing. I think that's probably one of the games I've beaten the most in my life.
Oh yeah, I that is my favorite RPG,
Like,
forever.
yeah, I like broke that game back in the day. I played it so much that you know, how you get like the power tabs and the magic tabs and stuff. I'd done that game so much that no characters had numerical stats anymore. Every stat was a star. If you
Oh
max them
yeah,
out, they become stars.
yeah,
Every character, every stat was a star. I played that game so much.
yeah. So here it says like orchestral ROM hack, um, but it's not. So I don't know if this is the same one. Let's see.
Hello, I'm Patrick.
Oh, come on, Patrick. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, that's it.
Bill, did you ever play the Chrono Cross game? I never played Chrono Cross. I'd seen it played like when it came out back in the day. A buddy of mine had it, and he didn't love it, but he also didn't hate it. That seems to be the consensus I hear with Chrono Cross in general. I almost purchased it because I have it for the Switch, but I never played Chrono Cross. I've heard mixed things.
I what is? Oh, there we go. So I have played. I own Chrono Cross actually.
Did you ever go through it?
I have not played it through all the way, and the funny thing is that I had it when it first came out, and then that was like in one of the things that I like offloaded when I joined the military, and then I got it again for super cheap before like everybody was collecting retro games. You know, well, that's so weird saying that, but you know, retro games. Um, and yeah, I just haven't gotten around to playing it. I will one
Yeah.
day, I swear.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I heard the combat system is really fun.
Yeah, but I mean, there's just something about like Chrono Trigger. I mean, even going back and playing it now or as an adult, is it's still just such a timeless game. Like Illusion of Gaia
Yeah.
is another one that I just love. It's more of an action RPG.
Yeah.
But it's such a good game. Such a good game. That's probably like my number two. Illusion of Gaia. Yeah.
I could never get into those. I think I'm curious if revisiting those now with like a fresh set of eyes might be. Same as Secret of Mana. I could never get into those either.
Oh man, Secret of Evermore. I think if you played, because Illusion of Gaia is one of those that like you have to play for like an hour before it starts to like really grab you. You know, it's kind of like one of those good books that you read and like the very beginning you're kind of like, oh man, this is slow, but then it like picks up and it just keeps going through the whole rest of the book. But it's like the groundwork to really get in the game is good. So that's one thing that I've learned like as a gamer is some games you can pick them up and they seem fun right away, and then other games that can be really good take like an hour, sometimes a little bit more to play to really get into it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And Bill says, I want to check out I Am Setsuna, which pays homage to Chrono Trigger in a lot of ways. It looks like a fun modern JRPG. Wait, let me see that. I've heard of that. Let me refresh my memory here. I Am Setsuna. Let's see. Manama. Just watch the trailer.
That does sound familiar.
Oh yeah, that's very Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah,
All right, this looks good. This looks actually like really good. I want to play it. Is this a physical
the Switch
release?
is just the best console.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, but
I don't know. I'm having like I'm hard pressed to find a console in the past like 15 years it's been as good as the Switch has.
the Switch is really good. You know what makes it really good is that it's so adaptable. And the thing is that Nintendo has so many exclusive titles, and that it's like you can't beat the exclusivity of the Switch, I think is what it is. And
Yeah.
it's impressive, like, for how much of an underpowered system it is when you compare it to, like, the Xbox and the PS5. I mean, even when they're doing like 1080p graphics, like how good it usually looks most of the time. It's digital only. I wonder if, because a lot of times I go to Play Asia.
Yeah, PlayAsia is good. Yeah, you can usually get some good stuff off of them.
Because I prefer not to buy from Limited Run anymore. Let me see. I am. Oh yeah, they have it.
No, he says it's not exclusive to Switch.
Yeah, no, it's not. Multi-language. Boom, right here. Yeah.
I've been getting picky about games that the Switch is like it's so versatile and it's so great. I made the mistake of picking up Tunic on the Switch, and I got a physical copy of Tunic, and then like it just doesn't run the best. It's very like there's crazy load times and it's kind of blurry because of the resolution's not great. And then I played it for the Xbox One and I was like, oh, this is way better. So some games you just have to you have to pick your battles with the Switch. You have to just know its capabilities and
yeah. I mean, I never
do. Really want.
I don't even try to mess around with like a wide release on the Switch. I'm like, nope. I mean, the Switch for me is like pretty much Nintendo only titles.
I do a lot of indie stuff. I do a lot of indie stuff on my Switch.
Well, indie too, but I mean, like indie stuff is usually not extremely demanding,
right,
graphically or anything. So it's gonna still look good. It's gonna be 1080p. It's not gonna be dynamic resolution and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why I was disappointed with Tunic because I figured I didn't think Tunic was gonna be as intensive as it was, but it just doesn't run. It's also however it gets ported too. Like looking at something like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, those games are insane and look great and run well. And I just feel like it's just because it's Nintendo's developers know how to squeeze every drop of juice that I can out of that thing. So
right. Well, it's like when they do exclusives on the PS5. It's the same thing. Like they know really what they can do with the hardware and stuff, and you can always see it in the game. I mean, like Spider-Man is a prime example. Like the game is freaking breathtaking.
Did you play the new one?
I haven't yet. No.
Oh shit! You need to play that. It's so.
I know everybody is telling me, and I'm like, yes, I know. I want to. I'm going to eventually. I swear.
Did you play through the Batman Arkham games?
No, I never was into those.
No. Okay.
Mm-mm. But I know
Okay.
like I know that they're good. Like I'd never I just was like never into like Batman series of games, I guess. But
Okay.
like looking at them though, it was like something that captured my interest. It was just like, do I want to play this or do I want to play, whatever else I was playing at the time?
Yeah. The only reason I ask is because I don't if you've gone down the Spider-Man. Did you play Miles Morales?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I
So if
played
you've
through.
already played those two, like the third one or the Spider-Man 2, the sequel there, it's like you're gonna start to get a little bit of the burnout where you're like, I've done all this before, but it's still so well done and the story's so good that it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's like that's why I brought up the Arkham games because I played all of those, and by the time the final one came out, I was like, I'm just so tired of this like series. Like it's like it's still undeniably amazing, but it's like it hasn't changed or evolved enough that it like warrants like a fifth entry. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's that you got to be careful with that too. It's like movies and games. You run the risk of running a series into the ground if you're not careful.
Oh, 100% I agree. And that's also one thing I hate about the gaming industry is when they do something like that and
Mm,
it's like now they're just like milking it. Like they just
yeah.
it's all about money, you know? I mean, it's all about money
Look at Assassin's
anyways, but
Creed.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
They
like
still make Assassin's Creed games.
it turns me off completely to whatever the series is. It's like there's nothing put into this. It's like you guys just came out with one a year ago and now you have
Yeah.
another one. It's like, what do you guys like? What's even going on? Like, are you guys even deving these, or is AI just putting these things out? What's happening?
Yeah. That's the movie industry too this year, which is wild.
Yeah. Oh my God. Seriously, dude, it's so bad. I don't even watch I really don't watch anything anymore. I think the last movie I saw was the Mario movie, which
Mm.
I thought was a really cool movie.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, but I don't really watch anything because it's like it seems like everything that they're making now is either like super woke or it's
Yeah.
like it's literally just to like profit off of like the Marvel stuff. It's like it's too much, dude. It's like
Yeah,
it's
Marvel's doing a
too much.
combination of those two, and like they need to, which I'm glad to see that their box office has been tanking because they just need to stop. They need to. I don't know, it feels like some of these movies are being written by AI too right now. Like they're
Yeah.
just. It's so weird to look back at like early Marvel stuff and how each story was about the individual hero, and they actually had a story, and
Mhm.
like you cared for them. They had an arc, and now it's just like I don't know. It's just there's no. It's just like I don't know. It just feels like a production line of garbage now. Like
Yeah.
it's been bad,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
I
The
thought I
movie
thought
industry's in a rough spot.
I thought everything. I think everything leading up to, with the exception of a few movies, obviously, but everything leading up to Avengers Endgame
Mm,
was 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 pretty cool. Like I like how they tied all the character stories together to produce that movie and the story that came out of it. But it was like after
yeah,
that, then they're like WandaVision, like all this other stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm over it. And then
yeah,
DC's is the same thing, like they're just, and then you have that whole weird thing going on with like the Snyderverse and like all the fans, like it's just
yeah.
it's really wild, really
Uh,
wild. Um,
and it's just weird to see too that the people that want to like they just want to be fans so much like they don't like they lie to themselves about the quality of these things. They're like,
yeah,
oh no, it's so good. What are you talking about? It's like no, it isn't. It's like come on, like, it's like just stop pretending. Like it's okay. It's okay to not like something if it's bad. Like you don't have to
right,
pretend to like it.
right,
You don't have to turn in your fanboy card. Relax.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Um,
But we've literally had the best year of video games in like a decade. This year has been like there is stuff that I didn't even get to touch this year that I'm not going to even be able to play till next year because this year was so packed with amazing new releases. This has been the most ridiculous year for gaming I've ever seen in almost 40 years of playing video games. It's just been absurd this year.
it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. I
Pretty good.
I feel like it's so difficult for me because I really don't want to pick up a newer game unless it's something that really catches my interest, you know? Like, for example, like a lot of people like to play, and there's nothing wrong with this. I don't think they're wrong for liking to play it, but a lot of people like to play like the Call of Duty games, which I'm just like, they're, to me, it's like the same thing that they've been doing like over and over and over, you know, just with like, you might as well make it into like a Fortnite thing where you're just basically like upgrading maps and characters over a long period of time, and it's just like continuous. It's like, why even make the game? And I think I played one of them, and the canon, like the story was like just too close to home for me. And I was like, I'm like, I don't really want to play that anymore, because it's like they're making video games that have these stories that are so like tragic and like close to things that are happening in real life, and I'm like, there, it's just something in my head, I don't know, that doesn't compute well.
I think a lot. I think when you're playing a game, you have to look at a game like you do a movie. You need to be in the mood for certain things. Um, I'm sorry there, Goofyfoot. You do have to admit that Lord of the Rings Gollum sucks. I think you need to admit that anything outside of the original Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy, it sucks in that universe. The Hobbit is bad. Anything that has been attempted to be made Lord of the Rings outside of the original ones that came out 20 years ago, I'm sorry, buddy. You just sit yourself down, get a nice hot chocolate, and get yourself a blanket. You wrap yourself up,
Ooh,
and you
hot
just tell yourself
chocolate.
it's gonna be okay.
That's
It'll
a
be
good.
okay.
That's a good anecdote. A hot chocolate and wrap yourself up in a blanket. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, no, but there's been a lot of good games that have come out. You know, obviously, Phantom Liberty. You know, Miles Morales, or not Miles Morales 2, but Spider-Man 2. And a slew of other games that I can't think of off the top of my head, but um, it has been a good year. It's
It's been
just like,
insane. It hasn't even been good year. It's been an insane year. There has been like title after title after title this year that just keeps like dropping. Like I still haven't even touched Alan Wake. Like the fact that I haven't played Alan Wake is like it's
two.
borderline disgraceful. Yeah.
Oh,
I haven't
okay.
played that yet.
Yeah.
And like Alan Wake's one of my favorite like horror games ever, and I haven't had a chance to touch the new one yet, and it bothers like Baldur's Gate. I'm still playing Baldur's Gate. Like that is like one of the best games ever made, and that came out in a year that has just been so loaded with ridiculous titles. So
Yeah, the
I don't know.
last survival horror that I played through like deep was Resident Evil 8.
Oh yeah, that one was great.
And
I
yeah,
loved eight.
yeah,
Eight was really good.
I loved 7. Like 7 got me
Yeah,
back
seven was good
into
too.
the
Yep,
series.
same.
Um
Yeah, six was terrible.
yeah, 7 got me back into the series and actually made me go back to play, what was it? 6, I think, that had like the connection
Yeah.
to how they got to the house on the bayou, or whatever, how whatever it was got there. Um but anyways, and then 8 was just really good. It was so different. Just like how the
Yeah,
story
it was a
played
good
out.
combination of like seven and four. It was like it was
Right.
still like it had like the perspective of seven, but it brought like back more the action. Whereas seven was more like I would equate seven to more like
The first
Resident Evil
one.
2. Yeah, the first one or two,
Yeah.
where it's like the seven was just like hard and it was like scary, intense.
You
But
mean,
eight was like a good combination of like being an action game that was
yeah.
still like yeah, that eight was really good. And I like the
Yeah.
first person perspective. I know a lot of people aren't fans, but um, yeah, the first person perspective works really well in those games, I think.
It's funny that you said 7 is more like the first or second one, because that's exactly how I felt when I first started playing it. I was like, "Oh my god, this is so good."
Yeah.
But I feel, and it's so
Yep.
weird because it's like first person, but I feel like I'm playing like an original Resident Evil. Like I feel like I'm playing a dyed in the wool Resident Evil game right now. Like this is
Yeah. Yeah, I picked
really
up
good.
the VR version. I have the PSVR 2, so
Mm-hmm.
I tried playing the Resident Evil 8 in the VR 2, and it was just too much because 8. If you remember 8, remember like the werewolf attack at the beginning.
Yeah.
Try doing that in VR, and like it's impossible. Like your brain just can't process that. So the 8 was a little too challenging, and like when it starts you off, you don't get to start off with all the stuff you acquired in the regular game. So the Resident Evil 4, they just put out the VR2 patch for that, and I tried playing that as well, and that's a little bit more accessible actually.
Mm.
So that translates a little bit better, but it's still weird that like I was so like jazzed about the VR2, um, and now it's just kind of like you have to like play that thing on the regular, or you get like nauseous. Like it's weird. Like you have to like train your body to adapt to the world of VR. You get like sick if you haven't played it in a while.
Well, I
Like I
think
just
I think part of the thing too is like the way you see the motion and then your body relative to what your brain is doing.
yeah,
I
one hundred
really think
percent.
that actually like screws with you over time. And I've seen like they have these things now where you can like stand in them, like Ready Player One, and
Yep,
run around and stuff. And I think that would be like the best setting for a really immersive VR game like Resident Evil.
same. Yeah,
I think like the VR games or VR stuff that I have enjoyed the most is like either slower paced, more exploratory, or stationary stuff like Beat Saber, for example.
yeah.
Um, but not like some of these games like Horizon or Resident Evil. Like it's too
It's too much.
immersive when
Yeah,
yeah
it's too immersive.
it's
Yeah.
and your body is like just stationary though, so it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's crazy too because like we're so close to that level of immersion, like that Ready Player One level of immersion. Like there's games when I put on the VR2 that headset's insane, and its capabilities are nuts. It's just, but like you said though, it's like it's just too much without being strapped into something. It's like you really need like that level of I don't know. You just need like that external rig and like that whole setup to make it something you can really get into. It's such a shame too because it's like I was so like excited about it, and um, I think like one like you said, like it's the littler games. Like I actually enjoy Gran Turismo 3. The VR version of that's amazing, and that's you can just sit and play that,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use a controller. You don't have to be using the weird like wands or anything. But yeah, it's like I want to love VR more than I actually play it. Like it's like in my heart, I love it more than I actually like play the stuff,
Right. It's
which
better.
which
It's
bums
better
me
in your
out.
imagination.
Yeah, because it's like, but it's there. It's everything I want it to be. It's just like I can't physically handle it for. I was playing some. I think it was called After Dawn or something like that. It's like some zombie shooting game, and I played it thinking it was just going to be some fun first person zombie shooting game,
Uh huh.
and it turns out it was like a multiplayer thing. And then I don't like multiplayer games as a rule, but I wound up getting sucked into this like game with these people, and it was going on for like 20 minutes. I'm like, guys, I was like, I'm gonna throw up. Like, is this over soon? Because I can't be doing this anymore. It's just too much. I don't know.
Yeah. Um. So I wanted to talk about this because we're talking about the Switch anyways, and I don't know if you ever like
Yeah.
follow along with stuff like this. But so the NVIDIA Tegra chipset is like it's basically like a compact, GPU kind of processor chipset, like kind of like an all-in-one thing, I guess. And I was first introduced to the Tegra chipset um, with a tablet that a company
Yeah.
made. It was a Chinese company called Xiaomi, and that was like the first time I knew about it, and I was like, wow, it's pretty impressive, like for how small it is, what it can do. And I thought it was really cool. And then obviously they put it in the Switch, and so I was like looking through this and kind of like reading through a lot of the stuff about the Switch 2 and what they're speculating the graphics card is going to be. And I'm like, well, if the newer Tegra chipset, like one of the things I'm wondering is if it's going to have what do you call it, like basic ray tracing. I'm like, I
Mm.
wonder if it's going to have ray tracing, because there's two things. Like, one, if they're really going to make a Switch 2, like, and I'm curious to hear what you think. If they're really going to make a Switch 2 and make it worth it, then it should be able to play games at 4K for one thing. And, 60 FPS, 4K, at least, at the very least, with like DLSS2 and a dynamic resolution. But ray tracing, you would think, because it says it's close to like an RTX 2050, would be included in that. But I'm curious, like, when the Switch 2 comes out, like what would
Mm.
make you buy that? Like what would make you interested in buying the Switch 2?
So I've kind of stopped following. Anytime a Switch 2 rumor pops up, and those are going heavy right now. Again, they're making the rounds. I just ignore them because everybody's always wrong. Nintendo does whatever Nintendo
Oh
wants to
yeah,
do.
100%.
Um, the only thing the Switch 2 has to do to get me on board is make it backwards compatible with the Switch 1. That's
Mhm.
all it has to do. It has
Mhm.
to be more powerful and it has to be backwards compatible physically, and that's it.
Okay,
That's
but
all they have to do.
when you say more powerful, what does that mean?
It just needs to be capable of more than what it is now. Like I'd be happy with 4K, but honestly, like 1080p is fine. 1080p is fine. If it was 4K, that would obviously be ideal. I don't expect it to go up against a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series
Right,
X.
right.
I have both of those, and both of those are I rarely touch either of those. My Switch, being a 6-year-old system with lesser graphics, gets more play than either of those do, and it's because it just has better games. Nintendo is always going to have the vastly superior library. Nobody is going to touch Nintendo and Sony on their first-party games. The Xbox Series X, I don't even know why I own that thing anymore. That thing is worthless. There is no first-party game at all worth having on that. I was really looking forward to Hellblade, but that just keeps getting pushed back. But that's actually going to be like the one exclusive I care about on the
The
Xbox.
Microsoft Store is why you own it, because there are games that you can play on it that aren't
Yeah,
on anything
nobody
else.
can touch Microsoft's. Their online is still the best, hands down. But yeah, I really the thing about Nintendo that I appreciate that is going to make me a diehard with them. The only Nintendo system I never owned was the Wii U, and that's only because I hated the Wii so much. Um, but all they need to do, like I said, all it's going to take for me is making it physically backwards compatible with the original Switch hardware, and then um, just a good roster of new games coming out. I don't even care about like horsepower as much, honestly. Like, look how, as much as I'm not a big fan of the new Mario game, Mario Wonder, it is gorgeous. Like, and the fact that they managed to squeeze out graphic fidelity
Hmm.
of this quality on this console, it still looks better than most things.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like the capabilities of the Switch making gorgeous looking games is still there. The Switch has some absolutely gorgeous games. Okay, I mean, look at the Metroid Prime remake. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
All I really need Nintendo to do is just keep being Nintendo. They're never
Hmm.
going to be the most beautiful looking system. They never are. But they always look good enough, and they make games that are so good that it doesn't matter. Like that's it. I just want the good games, and Nintendo always delivers on that. They never really release bad stuff, and they're always going to have amazing first party titles. So the promise or notion alone of a Switch 2 is enough. And if it's backwards compatible, that's like I'll keep my Switch if it isn't. But just making it that much sweeter for me would be the backwards compatibility. Like that's really
Yeah.
all it takes. Like that's all it's gonna take. Like
Yeah.
honestly.
I mean, I like obviously I completely agree with the backwards compatibility. I just think like, they I'm not saying like that the graphics are like a huge deal, but to me, if they're coming out with a new system that's supposed to be upgraded and better, they should, at the very minimum, it should be between 1080p and 4K, because the current
Mm-hmm.
Switch is like 720 to 1080p. The worst game that they released as far as graphics go and stuff like that was that
Witcher, right?
no, because that wasn't exclusive, but the Pokemon
Mm.
game, um, which wasn't running at native when it was docked. It wasn't even running at native 720p. It was still scaling
Oh wow.
resolution, and it was like skipping
That's bad.
frames and stuff. And so I'm like, it should be something to where if they release an open, and it was an open world game, of course,
But
but
that's not that Pokemon game has nothing to do with the hardware limitations of the Switch. That's actually just that's a shitty. Um, that was a bad development. Like that was a
well,
lazy, sloppy development because Tears of the Kingdom is a massive game, and that game
but
runs perfectly
but
fine.
it's
So like
different. It's
it's a bad
shaded
port.
differently. It's shaded differently. So like the graphical
Oh, but the
integrity
thing is,
of
like, they could squeeze if they wanted to go into it, they could. Like, I've heard numerous instances of that just being a really lazy, sloppy production.
No,
and
you
just
might be
knowing that people are going to buy
right.
it.
You might be right, but they did it with like two of them, I think. And so all I'm saying is like if they're coming out with another one, like they need to make it like more graphically capable. That's all I'm saying. Like more memory, more graphically capable, and of course backwards compatibility, because for their own games, you know. I mean, imagine it being
Yeah.
backwards compatible and it can upscale older games or something like
Yeah, that
that.
would be huge. That would be tremendous. Like I was thinking about that too. Like if it I mean, just being backwards compatible would be enough for me because I have like a massive roster of like 70 physical Switch games. So it's like I want to be able to take those somewhere and not have to add another console to an HDMI port I don't have on my TV. So like
Right.
being able to throw those in there would be great alone. But if, like you're saying, like if it did have the ability to like enhance load times or upscale resolution, that would be tremendous as well. Nintendo's never been like huge on the tech side of things, like ever. Like, um, and the Super Nintendo was
At
better
least
looking
since
than
the
anything in the
Wii.
16-bit. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the GameCube.
Since
I
the
would
Wii.
argue the GameCube was better looking than the PS3 or the Xbox. The GameCube had really great like texture capabilities
Oh
and
no
had some.
no 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 no! GameCube was terrible,
You
terrible.
really think so?
Yeah,
The GameCube was more powerful than the
Dreamcast.
Wii.
I think the Dreamcast. Well, no, okay. I love the GameCube as a system, but graphically, like no. I mean, like play the Dreamcast version of Sonic Adventure 2 and then play it on GameCube, and it's garbage compared to it. I just think that it was just underpowered, in my opinion. Like I think it was a little bit underpowered for that time frame.
Interesting. I would like to see like back when I had my GameCube and I actually did have those like super rare that HD component out cables.
Uh-huh.
So it would give you like an actual 1080p picture, and that was like huge. It was like the difference between that and that running at like 720. It was unbelievable. So
Right.
things like Metroid Prime and stuff like that, it was just like night and day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if that's like more of a resolution issue because most people didn't spring for those and they were super hard to find. Like they're like they still go for like $200 for those cables now because they're so rare. Um, so I'm wondering if that's like just maybe it's like a resolution thing because natively the PlayStation and the Xbox and stuff like that were coming with those kinds of cables that were more easily accessible.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, the Dreamcast was based on. I mean, it was pretty much a Naomi, just with a little bit less
yeah,
memory, and I think the GPU cores were slightly less, but it had VGA out. That was like a native thing. I mean, it was essentially running like on arcade, like VGA graphics. You know what I mean? So I think that was like
yeah.
one of the things is that it was really built to like have that pizzazz to it. Now the PS2 on the other hand just like crushed both of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that they could have done more with the GameCube. Like it was very short-lived, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it's one of my least favorite Nintendo consoles, honestly. But it had some of the bangers on there, like were ones that I took with me forever. Like Metroid Prime is still one of my favorite games ever, and it was great even on that console. So
Yeah. Well, that was
yeah,
the
there's a
great
few
thing
that made
about
it
the
worth
Wii,
it.
though. The Wii was backwards compatible with GameCube games, and then
Yeah,
you had the 4 controller ports plus the Wiimotes and the legacy controllers. I mean, so that was the thing that I loved about the Wii. So you could still get the newer games, but you could also play the GameCube games on it. I mean, it basically alleviated the need to have a GameCube for the most part.
it did. But the problem with the Wii was that even with those HDMI cables that would fit into the Wii was only 480p capable.
Yes,
So
Paul.
so that thing was I hated the Wii. So like it ran at like a way lesser resolution than the GameCube even did. The GameCube was natively 720, and then the Wii at its max was 480p. So that thing was I don't know. I hated the Wii so much. I
Yeah.
hated that system.
Um. Wait. No. So the Wii couldn't run above 480p.
Nope, the natively if the natively the Wii was 480i, and if you had a set of
Yeah, right.
HDMI cables, if you
Hmm.
had not HDMI cables, I'm sorry, it was a composite out by back then, or component rather. If you had a pair of component out cables going to the Wii, it was 480p it would take it up to. So it was barely perceptible scale up as far as resolution, but 480p was the max for a Wii.
Interesting. Well, because
Yeah.
I have an adapter that just goes to HDMI.
Hmm.
For it works on the Wii and the GameCube, and it actually looks pretty good.
Does
But
it upscale it or something? It must upscale it. It must, I would think.
I'm not sure. I just know that like it makes it output correctly through an HDMI port. But what I was gonna say is I was talking about Voltar in the beginning, and he does stuff like that. So with modding like Wii's and GameCubes, and does like HDMI out mods.
That's cool.
Actually, let me see real quick if we can just check this out. We got about like 10 minutes left, so I don't want to keep you hostage too long.
No, it's been fun. Thanks for bringing me on board. It's been a while.
Yeah,
It's
all
just good
good.
to like nerd chat with you. It's always fun.
So let's see. Do 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 do. Um, and the best GameCube mods. See, and he's got like hacks for the Nintendo GameCube. Um, perfect HDMI Wii mod.
That's cool.
I chose Wix for my business
Oh.
because of its massive scope for functionality and
Hey everybody, it's Voltar here, and today we're going to be discussing the Wii
Lieutenant
as
Admiral
well as this
Voltar.
brand new HDMI lossless internal video modification coming out by Electron Shepherd. Now this is going to be a full tutorial teaching you how to break this system down, the anatomy of the Wii, good technique for installing this. It's just give me a few minutes, we're getting there. But before we
Can
really
you read
dive
those?
in, I want to talk about this little black box right here. Now it's not a review and I'm not going to discuss the features. But in case you didn't know, this is a RetroTink 4K prototype. And I've had it in my possession for the past couple of months. Mike Chi, the creator, who's a pretty good friend of mine,
It's
sent
cool
it
that
to
he's
me
doing that.
so I could evaluate
Why don't you go
it,
through the
help him
effort
debug
of
a few things, just help him
upscaling
along the
the
way. I send him stuff. He helps me a lot more than I help him,
So
but
I
I'm
don't-
always very gracious.
I don't want to. I hate skipping over stuff because he's
Position.
so detailed. But I want to show you. Um,
Guys, great work. All we need to do now is put our fan mount in position using our black screws, and we'll almost be done. Let's get this in position and let's get it going.
I love how people just find ways to mod things and make them better. Like I love that so much in this community. Um, like that Game Boy. I think I was telling
Great
you I had
work.
like a Game
Now,
Boy
our
Color
optical drive needs to be
custom
put in
made,
position.
and
This is no big deal. Turn it to the
like
left,
the
like
guy
so.
managed to like for
Expose
the
these two
HDMI out
interconnects, and
mod
we're
of
just
the
going to
Game
come
Boy
in here
Color.
very
It's not
carefully.
a funny
We're gonna
playing
connect
kit.
these. Now, I like to
And
start with this first
the guy
because
that
it's
has
just
been
easier,
making my
so
other
just
Game
rotate
Boys,
this
I did a
in.
Game Boy Advance and then a DMG with him.
Firmly place in
I was like,
position,
I want the
and we're all set.
HDMI
I'll zoom
out,
in to
but
show
I
you a little
like
more
the funny
delicately
playing
how to do
screens,
this
and I like the
without
setup
putting
of the
too
funny
much
playing.
stress
So he
on
managed to
this connector.
combine the kits of both of those,
uh-huh.
and
It's going to
nobody
be up sampled.
had done that
Now,
yet. So
this
it was
is
like
4K
it was
output.
cool
You want
because
to downsample
I
this
got
to
like the best of
1080p.
both worlds, and like the screen on a funny playing is a little different than the one that's supposed to come with. So it was neat. Like he managed to like make two different kits into one kit that's like a perfect like Game Boy Color, and I don't know. It's just neat the way that people find ways to make these things work. Like I love the modding community for gaming so much. It's just
Yeah.
wild. It's like
Well, this
wild
this
that
guy this
you
guy
can
is
make
pretty
stuff
much
so much better.
he's pretty much the Einstein of modding. All these
You ever
like
check out Macho Nacho?
yeah.
That guy's stuff is awesome too. I like that guy's stuff. He's makes some crazy stuff.
Okay, so here we go. This is like the NEON.Bit he's talking about.
Or any of these other people ever knew about it. Having said that, if you want to buy a kit, I have an affiliate link down below in the video description. Now, you don't have to use it, but if you do, I greatly appreciate it. These videos take literally hundreds of hours to produce, to shoot, cut, edit, pre-process, post-process. It's a lot. Even this outro is a lot. Now, all of the soldering equipment that I use, from the soldering irons to the flux to the solder, Links are down below. All the stuff that I use, you can.
So he shows, but basically
description.
this whole hour-long video is him showing you step by step,
Now,
close up,
I'm going to move
exactly
over to
what and how to do it,
first ever true
Yeah.
the
video
entire
footage of the
process,
Retro 4K being used.
the best way
We're
to do
going
it.
to pair the HDMI output of the Wii to the RetroTink 4K so you can see what it does digitally with lossless video content. This is 480p coming out that's going to be upsampled.
Okay,
Now,
480p
this is
coming
4K
out
output. We're
with
going
the
to
HDMI.
downsample this to 1080p.
Oh, so
That's
it's still
what this
just the
video is, but
480p.
that's
So
quite okay.
you don't
But-
even really need to go through all that trouble. You could just get yourself a pair of component out cables for the Wii, and
Wait,
that would
he's
cost you-
comparing the component output of a stock Wii
Just
to
so
the
that you
digital
can see
output.
the difference between the analog output and the digital output, because a lot of systems, the N64, the PlayStation 1, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah, he's talking about, I don't know if
So
you're...
the HDMI is 1080? I can't really see anything either.
That's just my opinion.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's a system that leverages
Well,
the
he's
digital
basically
output
going to
of the
compare
and it makes
like the component output, the HDMI mod, and you're going to see.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Take care of yourselves.
And then he's
Let me know.
also
Like,
pushing it through a
subscribe,
RetroTink
like,
4K to show what it looks like
Let me know if you want.
upscaled with the
Okay.
HDMI mod.
Have a good time. We'll make more videos. and
Yeah, I
I'll
love
catch
that
you
these
guys
things
real soon.
exist for anyone
And
who
as
wants to
always,
go down that
strap
road.
on and say hi to your mother for me. Take care.
All right, here we go. So this is what? YPBR. So this is component.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think I'm streaming at like 720.
Yeah, it's
Or
gonna be.
10
I have
10
to watch the video to
1080,
actually notice
but-
the difference. Yeah.
And then this is HDMI. So this is 480p.
Yeah.
And then he shows like a close up between the two. It's incredible when he like gets this close. You can see the differences in like the pixelization. I don't know if that's upscaled through the RetroTink when he's showing HDMI or not, but he's like split them in half. So you can see. It's so funny, like in gaming communities, you know, like people will complain about emulation and hold on, let me pause this for a second. People will complain about like emulation and stuff, and they'll talk about like, oh, you know, it doesn't run right or there's slowdown or whatever. And like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on Arcade 1-Up, for example. And I'm by no means a fan of Arcade 1-Up. Good God, man. As a company, I'm like by no means a fan of theirs. But MVC2, everybody was like up in arms and saying, you know, the emulation was bad on MVC2. And I had an MVC2 Naomi arcade machine. There was more slowdown in that than there was in the Arcade 1-Up version, which tells you it's not being emulated at the same speeds. You know, it doesn't have like the variable speeds that the Naomi version did due to whatever it was, like the memory or whatever. I don't know. But my point is just that people have like a very selective memory. So it's like watching that Metroid replay, and you know, you can see where there's kind of like slowdown or it's a little bit choppy or whatever. And you know, then people will complain about emulation and be like, oh, you know, it's glitchy or slowed down. It's like there's a lot of factors that people like don't weigh into that whole thing, which is like, you know, how did the game originally look and play? Because your memory, like you're thinking you remember it this way, but I go back and I look at things a lot of times and I'm like, this plays like almost actually worse than like the way it's emulated. And it's a very interesting kind of like conundrum that you have in like the retro gaming community and even the home arcade community, where they're talking about, you know, emulation being bad or whatever. Is a lot of times the games are actually, in a sense, emulated better, but you know, people want originality and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is if games were emulated perfectly, they would have slowdown, or the graphics may look more glitchy in certain places, especially when you take an older game that was played on a CRT and then you look at it on an LCD, you know, screen that's big and clear. You're going to see things you probably never saw, like polygon tearing and stuff like that. In 3D games. And so, you know, people always think that they have like this such great comparison, like, oh, you know, this is trash. Like, no, the game probably just looks like trash compared to like what you think now because, you know, of X, Y, and Z. So it's just, it's funny to me. But MVC2 was a great example of that.
Yeah, that coincides with what I was talking about too. Is with like Mortal Kombat. When you're looking at Mortal Kombat 2 on the arcade 1-up, and like say you've got Scorpion, and you can notice like the black on his pants sort of pixelating in and out. That's in the arcade. Like the arcade looks exactly like that, but you don't notice it in the arcade because of the CRT is covering up most of that hurt. Whereas with the arcade 1-up, it's on a beautiful LCD screen that's super crisp. And even with the scan lines on the LCD, it's not emulating that smoothing out that you see on the CRT naturally. So, like, all of that stuff is in the actual game, but you just don't see it because you're seeing it with a fresh set of eyes now. So that's why I always encourage people to take off your nostalgia glasses and, like, revisit some of the things that you used to love. And, like, you're going to find more often than not that they're not as great as you remember them being. But that's what makes the things that are actually as great as you remember them being stand out even more over the test of time, like your Super Metroids or, you know, your Zelda, your Link's Awakening or something like that. Like those are the things that really stand out because they don't get worse over time. Like they stay just as good. And I think that's important to revisit these things and give yourself a fresh perspective consistently because I don't know, just for argument's sake, it's very important.
I think development was also a lot tighter and better
smaller
during, you know, the 16-bit, 32-bit era. You know, even like 128-bit era early, because there was no online or OTA support. And so, you know, if they released a game, like it had to be done right or they were going to be up Schitt's Creek pretty much. Whereas now there's kind of, I feel like there's like this looseness of, oh, well, we can just, you know, OTA the game. But the thing is, like, I don't like that having to rely on the online system. Like that's one thing that I just still despise about modern era gaming is having to rely on being logged into the internet or whatever, or not being able to play a game without doing an update. It's like, no, like I paid for this, it's mine. You know. So I don't know. I mean, I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but
that's a whole other episode.
But yeah, I mean, so that's why I always prefer, you know, physical copies for most things if I can. I definitely prefer that, especially like older stuff. But I'm not like a collector where I just want to collect everything. Like if I didn't get it, you know, or I don't already have it, then I'm only gonna want it if it's a game that I'll actually play. Even if I play it only, you know, for a week and then like it goes back in my collection, but like something that I'm actually going to like play, like those are the kind of games that I like to have in my collection.
I agree with you with a small caveat is like I'll do the I have EverDrives for all my stuff. Like I got my Super Nintendo, my Game Boy Advance, and my Game Boy. I have EverDrive cards for those that I load up with everything.
Right.
And then I buy the physical cartridges of the games that like I know I'm gonna buy them, but it actually helps me slow down my spending because I just go all in and I'll just drop like hundreds of dollars a week buying like retro games. But this was like having the EverDrive as a way to just like calm me down. So I still have the game. And it's like I can just casually, if I'm out and I see a good deal on one of them, I'll buy it and clean it up, and it'll sit on the shelf. And you know, it's like it's just a nice way to have your cake and eat it too.
You're playing them. Yeah, you're playing them on the original hardware.
Yeah.
I think the N8 has like an FPGA in it though, or it runs on an FPGA like the N8 NES cartridge.
Mhm.
And I know that some flash carts, a few of them, I think maybe like the N8 and I think like one other one or God, what's it called? I don't know. The one for the PC Engine though. Anyways, but they're great, and I agree. Like, so I think I have one for my N64, SNES, my Atari 800 now, my Game Boy Advance, which also plays Game Boy and Game Boy Color games,
Mhm.
and my Jaguar. And the other thing is too is that it preserves your system and your games, because then you're
Yeah.
not putting cartridges in and out of it to play games. You just have one cartridge in there that you're sticking a memory card in and out of, you know.
Yep.
So I think that that's like another important thing to consider if you want to, you know, keep these things lasting longer and actually play on the original hardware. I mean, the only alternative is just to have, you know, a good emulation setup as like a backup, I think. Really to that, I think that the EverDrives are a very good thing to have. I mean, it's great to collect the games and to have them because you like them or you want them. But if you actually play the games, you definitely want to invest in EverDrive.
Yeah, absolutely. Just save you on the wear and tear. And honestly, yeah, it's nice to just keep that one cartridge in there that stays in there, and you can play all of the games at once rather than having to get up and take it out and stuff. And it's like
Right.
you said, it's playing on the original hardware, so the ROM, if the ROM is solid, then it's fine. It's gonna be working as it should. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I've been loving the going down the retro rabbit hole. I spent so much money this year on video games. It was disgusting. Someone should have sat me down and been like, "Listen,
Why don't you
you
have a
problem."
seat? Have a seat.
Yeah. You have a problem. Have a cookie. Settle down. Relax.
Oh, Paul. Yeah, Paul said people want the original bugs, and and that's true. That's true. But you know, again, like MVC2 was the perfect example for me, where I was like, I had it next to the original, and I'm like, this is exactly the same. It's just actually it almost feels a little bit sped up. You know, which for fighting games and stuff like that, people get very, very picky about that. But I don't think people even knew. They're just like, oh, it's not right. Ah. But anyways, yeah. So I'm gonna. We're a little bit over, but thank you for hanging out longer and letting me keep you hostage. And so how are we looking on the equipment here? Are we good? You getting a good
I
feel
think
for
so.
it?
Yeah.
What?
Thank you for letting me conduct this test. And yeah, next time we do this, I'll get a little more wild with my lighting setup and get wacky with it. But yeah, this was fun. And
Get like a
yeah,
little
it's
Duke
good to get to knock
Nukem
some of the old
stripper
ring rust
pole
off.
back there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Get wild with it. But yeah,
Cool.
it's so rusty. I'm so YouTube got rusty. It's good to thank you for encouraging me.
Oh yeah, no worries, dude. I'm always like, you know, I like to be like super awkward. So, I mean, and you know, my content too, I'm like super cringe. So, but I'm like, there's like good cringe and there's bad cringe, because I watched some of my old stuff, and I was telling you about this, I think yesterday, and I'm just like, oh, that's like cringe. I want good cringe, you know, like where it's like deliberate.
Yeah.
I'm deliberately being cringy. But I swear that's like like the older generations, like Gen X or whatever the other ones are called, that are like in between Zennial. What is it? I don't know.
Millennial, Gen Z.
I don't know. The ones before they got super woke. But you know, I think people like that get my kind of humor. It's like younger people are like, what the fuck is wrong with this bit? And then, you know, people who love horror flicks usually don't really get my humor either. So
I mean, we're super niche nerds anyway. That's why I like talking to you anyways. Like I can sit here and talk tech and then just talk retro stuff, and I always learn a little something, which is nice. Like I always like finding out stuff that I didn't know about before. Like we, you know, like different stuff. So I think it's fun being able to share that, and As always, I appreciate hanging out with you. Always fun to nerd out with and geek out with.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Thank you. And chat, thanks for hanging out. um, oh my god, my voice. Uh, I think I have like 2 new videos out. If you guys haven't checked them out, or if you're interested and you want to check them out, they're about the gun for IR, and then basically like an EverDrive for the Atari 800, which is less than $100. So it works really well. And then what else did I do before that? I don't know. I did something else before that. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed the stream, please leave a like on the way out, and check out John's channel if you haven't. He has a really high production value, and it's a good channel. He needs to do more content and stop being a little bitch.
I'm like, my next video will be fun. I'm gonna smash a Nintendo. I'm gonna destroy a Nintendo in super high frame rate. So enjoy. I hope you enjoy that, because the original Nintendo is a piece of garbage, and I'm going to destroy one.
Oh, thanks.
It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait.
Thanks, Ezekiel. 9.99 super chat says, "Hey Jade, happy holidays." Happy holidays to you too, and thank you for stopping by. So anyways, chat, y'all have a safe, seriously, have a safe and hopefully a happy, but most importantly, safe New Year. And yeah, I guess that's it. So until next time, we'll see you guys then.
Later, guys.